All of my keynote speeches have two basic themes. The first theme is that while the future is not perfectly predictable, it is knowable. And so we spend some time looking at the shape of the future, the trends and developments that are going to create the world in which we're going to live. The second theme is that the future is creatable, and so we spend some time on the things that we need to do to create or shape the future that we prefer. Now, depending on the audience, depending on the needs of the client or the event, we might focus more on the shape of the future, or we might focus more on how to go about creating the future, but each keynote has both of those themes. And if you tie it all together, it adds up to this. The future is not something that just happens to us. The future is something that we do. Not just what future might happen to us, although that's part of what we focus on, but also what kind of future that we want. The image of the future that we hold in our minds gives us a lot of instruction about the things we ought to be doing today. For your store, or for your group of stores, for your community, or for this whole integrated operation called Ace Hardware. What is our preferred future? From time to time, you ought to pause and look a decade ahead, or even beyond that, so that you could ask some questions that you might learn from futurists, or that you might use if you want to be your own futurist. The questions really are relatively obvious. What is probable in the future? What are some things that are probably going to happen that don't suggest that I should be doing anything yet, but that I ought to be learning about them, as I did about the early precursors of the internet? It was too early to do anything, but it was time to start learning about what was coming. Second question you might ask is, what's possible in the future? What's outside the boundaries of the way we've normally thought about my business? Which, if we gave ourselves permission to think outside those boundaries, we might discover some new opportunities that we would otherwise not see. What is preferred in the future? Putting together all of the probabilities, realistic or unrealistic as they may be, and all of the possibilities, endless though they may be, putting all of that together, what is a preferred future for this organization, this company, this operation within this company, or perhaps even my own career? What is a preferred future, and how would I describe it? In this session, we want to ask, what are our images of the future? And this next set of questions is designed to ask, in this room, how does the future look to us? What are some of our images? Here's the first question. The world population is growing faster and faster. True or false? You have 30 seconds to decide. The correct answer is false. Let's see how many of you got that. Okay. Raise your hand if you've heard of nanotechnology. Most hands are going up now. What kind of opportunity is something as exotic as nanotechnology going to offer an organization like the Red Cross? The opportunity is this, something called micro, or really nano, water filtration. We need a new economic enterprise. We need to respond to global climate change. And the best way to do those two things is to invest in new energy. And in fact, the energy enterprise will be the biggest business opportunity in the history of the world as we transition over the next 2 to 4 decades to a new energy era. Global warming is real. It means as an organization we're going to face wild weather over the next many decades. It's time to acknowledge it. It's time to do more than ever to get ready for it. And perhaps it's even time to begin lobbying for everything we can do to reduce the impact of global warming. 5 challenges. The keynotes that I do range from 30 minutes to 90 minutes, sometimes more. I do half-day and full-day seminars, workshops, and think tanks. And in some cases, we'll facilitate 2 or 3-day long-range planning events around the shape and the nature and the creation of the preferred future. The topics also range from population and demographic trends to energy, environment, technology, telecommunications, social media, healthcare, education, transportation, depending on the specific needs of the customer group that I'm working with. For a retailer like REI in Seattle, or for the Portuguese retailer called Sonai, we might look at the future of retail and of manufacturing and of consumer trends, as well as at real estate development and so on. For a transportation agency or a company related to the future of transportation, we might look at the future of automobiles, the future of transit, of trains. For a Boeing, we might look at the future of air travel. For a technology company, we might look at social media and how the next generation is using media differently than past generations. And so the information that we explore will really depend on the needs of the client, all shaped around this large question of what does the future look like and how do we go about shaping the future that we prefer.